What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael and welcome to FudgeMuppet. If you've been watching our channel for a while, you'd probably know that we're very keen on discussing Elder Scrolls 6, and when it was announced at E3 this year, we went absolutely nuts. There's still quite a while till we can get our hands on it, but that won't stop us brainstorming exactly how we want the game to be structured. Today, I thought it would be awesome to go through 5 things that we, as in the FudgeMuppet crew, really want in Elder Scrolls 6. These 5 things aren't in any order, and we're not including ideal perk trees because we'll want to cover those in separate videos to make sure this doesn't go for an hour long. A massive thank you to everyone out there supporting the channel too, especially those who would watch an hour-long video. And let us know if you want a part 2 for this video as well, because we've got lots of Elder Scrolls 6 discussion ideas to go through. If you have any ideas for future Elder Scrolls 6 discussions, let us know in the comments below and we'll definitely consider covering it. Now let's dive right into the lands of Elder Scrolls Imagination with desire number 1. In Elder Scrolls 6, we would absolutely love a resolution with the Thalmor and the Old Mirri Dominion. The Thalmor have become such an integral part of the Elder Scrolls world and lore, and we're all wondering what's going to happen with their plans to dominate Tamriel. Skyrim was really building this up, and I don't want it to just be swept under the rug. Will the Thalmor eventually take over the Empire and rule the large majority of Tamriel? Will they actually be pushed back by the Empire after they're headed by a newly appointed Emperor? Will the Red Guards help assisting in this, or will the Dominion crumble from the inside because they treated those in other provinces, such as Elsewhere and Valenwood, too abusively? I'm just spitballing here, but we all want to know what happens with the Thalmor and their plot for expansive domination. Now here's the thing, at first you might think it would be perfectly fine to have Elder Scrolls 6 set in Hammerfell or High Rock or both, and the Thalmor conflict is explored more and it's really cool, but not resolved by the end of the game. And you're right, it would be cool to explore more, but a resolution is what I'd most prefer. The reason for this is that if you haven't noticed, Elder Scrolls main titles are truly a rare event. We got Skyrim in 2011, and maybe we won't get Elder Scrolls 6 until 2021 or 2022, who knows? So then I ask you this, if we don't get a Thalmor resolution in Elder Scrolls 6, when will we? In Elder Scrolls 7? When we're all more than a decade older than we are now? I don't think anyone wants to wait that long to find out what happens with this faction. Now the other thing with this wish of ours to see the Thalmor conflict resolved is that we actually don't mind whether or not we play it. Yes, it would be very cool to play through the resolution, but even if we just skip forward more in time for Elder Scrolls 6, and you can read or hear of what happened to the Thalmor presence, that would also be acceptable. For example, if the game was set in Valenwood and the Thalmor still ruled it, you could hear stories about how the Thalmor were eventually pushed back, and now they have no grasp on the Empire whatsoever. Or maybe the game is set in Hammerfell and High Rock, and you can read about the time that the Red Guards made a truce with a strengthened Empire, and together they drove the Thalmor out of their territory and severely weakened their forces, at least for now. We would also probably hear what happened in the Civil War in Skyrim, so in a nutshell, I don't mind if we actually play it out ourselves, or if we're just dumped into a new world and hear about what happened. Either way, Elder Scrolls 6 should be a sensational game. I just want to know what happens with this conflict. Desire number 2 on this list is actually for character classes to make a return. This is a big one for us. In previous Elder Scrolls games, there were classes which determined how your character would start with skills and so on. However, unlike previous games where you had attributes, major skills, and minor skills depending on your class, and major skills leveled faster and were only the skills that contributed to your character leveling up, you could do it much simpler. I envision a class system that keeps people who love role-playing, like me, very happy, while also looking after the casual players who just don't care about classes. So in Skyrim, each race had various skill bonuses that they started with, and then you could go and level up whatever skills you wanted to, and they would all contribute to your overall leveling. You could start as a wood elf, and while you'd have a big bonus to archery, you could just choose to focus on magic, get really good at it, and be a master mage. You could be anything as any race, and I still want this to be possible. It would be boring if every Nord had to be a warrior, and every high elf had to be a wizard. With classes though, what you can do is keep racial skill bonuses, but then more or less tag skills which will start even higher. This can be balanced by having other skills be even lower. So if you pick a class, or even create a custom class, everything starts at 5 or even say 10, instead of 15 or 20 or 25. Then you get some +5s and a +10 from your race, and then some more +5s based on your class. Now if you don't want to pick a class in the case of more casual players, they could just have their racial bonuses and then be given a more even spread of skills, like is currently done in Skyrim. However, the purpose of having classes is to facilitate role-playing, so if in your backstory you were a renowned knight, you can actually start your new game with a bonus to one-handed, block, and heavy armor, armor, even if this was not in line with your race choice. As you can see, this gives you a lot more freedom with the backstory and roleplaying, because you can have some sort of skill set when you start the game that isn't just defined by your race. It's not meant to be overpowered either, just a little bonus. Look at it like min-maxing, which is something we do when picking special stats in Fallout games. We have really low stats at the start in some areas, so we can have really high stats in other areas. So you could have a start game character in Elder Scrolls 6 who has 10 in skills that he or she didn't choose in their class and aren't good for their race. Then they'd have 15 in skills they didn't pick in their class but get minor race bonuses to, and then 20 maybe in one skill even if they didn't pick it for their class just because their race is excellent at it. Then whatever skills they did pick would get plus 10 on top of this. So you could have 30 in a skill if you made or chose a class that had utilized their best racial skill. You'd have 25 in skills that you picked for your class and get minor race bonuses to, and you'd even have 20 in a skill that your race is notoriously unskilled at. All in all, you won't be a master off of the bat, but at level 1 it's enough to feel like you're skilled at something. Perhaps you could even choose one skill in your list of skills that make up your class to add plus 15 to. And we don't need something like 7 skills for the class, it could just be picking 3 or 4 skills that you're good at. There's a lot of ways Bethesda could bring classes back that would make me happy. I'm not here to say there's one right way to do it, but this is just some food for thought, and I would like to see classes make a return even if they are streamlined. Now for number 3, and this one's quite the opinion. In Elder Scrolls 6, we would actually prefer if there was not a predestined backstory for our character. Skyrim is a great power fantasy, but from the very early stages of the game, you were admired for being the Dragonborn and told you're the greatest thing since sliced sweet roll, and you're going to save the world from the big bad dragon. Now instead of making us the pre-fated savior of Tamriel, we find it better for role-playing and character development if you just start as a nobody, or at least someone with a clean slate. The prisoner predicament would work beautifully, and we don't mind if it's used yet again. You're a prisoner, but even better if you don't know why you're a prisoner or how. In Skyrim, you had to get caught crossing that border, which still gave us plenty of room to work with, but it's even better if you just get to make up your past entirely. Then when you actually play the game, you'll just feel like a random person with whatever past you want to believe you had, who ends up being caught up in events larger than themselves. This was how things were done in Oblivion. Sure, you were the face the Emperor saw in his dreams, but that was it. In Oblivion, you could still easily enjoy a power fantasy playthrough though without being forced into it. It's fun to go on a massive power trip in video games, it really is, but if you want to just mind your own business, you should be able to, instead of being rushed into saving the world. The thing that makes the Elder Scrolls games so appealing is being able to truly be who you want to be and get lost in the lore and the universe doing side quests, even ignoring the main quest if you want without that feeling silly. So rather than being worshipped from almost the get-go, we'd prefer if we could grind for the respect of those around us, instead of being handed admiration on a platter. Being the Dragonborn often felt like it overshadowed other achievements too. You might have grinded to become the most powerful wizard in the game, and the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, and while people still acknowledged it, they still focused on your identity very much so as the mighty Dragonborn. Even in Morrowind, you were the Nerevarine, but people didn't really think of you like that, and you had to work hard without superpowers to actually get good, versus just being able to drag and shout almost instantly. Power feels better when you earn it. Skyrim was still amazing though, but we'd prefer not to be innately superpowered in Elder Scrolls 6. Desire number 4 I really want to see in Elder Scrolls 6 is better joinable faction options and better executed faction plot lines. Morrowind gave us some more choice when it came to philosophies in factions, and that's something that I really want to see in Elder Scrolls 6. For example, if you're a mage, you could join the Mages Guild or you could join House Telvanni. On the other hand, in Skyrim, you pretty much only have a mage-centric quest line if you join the College of Winterhold and work out their problems, eventually becoming the Archmage. I made an entire video on why the College of Winterhold storyline sucked, which you can look at if you want, but even if the story was amazing, why not have more than one mage faction? I mean, if you want to be a bandit like Elemental Mage, you feel just a little bit too nice and respectable while doing the College of Winterhold. The same thing happened in Elder Scrolls for Oblivion. Oblivion, where you were forced into being the hero of the Mages Guild, even if you wanted to be an evil necromancer and work alongside the Order of the Black Worm, the enemies in the Mages Guild plotline. Or back to Skyrim, how we couldn't join the Silver Hand and hunt down werewolves, even if we disagreed with the idea of werewolves during the Companion's questline. Basically, we've been shoehorned into the morality of a faction, depending on our class type or skills, for too long, and we want more options for joinable guilds. There should be a warriors guild that's very honorable, and one that is more mercenary-like, an assassin's guild who only do noble contracts and take out clearly evil targets, and another who just kills any person if the money is right. You get the idea here. I've played so many stealth archer builds who are perfect for the Dark Brotherhood, skills-wise, but would completely oppose their values and ethics. I think values and philosophies being imprinted onto factions is great because it makes them interesting, but it's only good when there's many different factions to join. It would also be cool to have a kind of reputation system where if you progress far enough in one faction, say a mage guild, then the other rival magic-based faction wouldn't like you, and you'd be locked out of joining. Now, not only would I want at least one extra faction for each basic combat skill set, so 2 for warriors to consider, 2 for mages and 2 for thieves and 2 for assassins, or just anyone who uses stealth as a main component of combat, but it would also be good if we could take factions in different ways. This is especially important if Bethesda do keep the faction amounts as limited as they are. So what I mean by this is that if there is only one guild for thieves, we should be able to make decisions in it which actually change the course of events. For example, imagine a thieves guild. As you've worked your way up into a position of power, you could start making some lower end decisions and eventually then some higher end decisions which sway the guild to a more of a Robin Hood direction, where you only steal from the rich or evil and give to the poor and needy. Or you could dominate the streets and turn the guild into some real mafia level action where you get protection money from all the shop owners, you've got different henchmen running different jobs, and you can get into a lot more crime than just stealing from kings and whatnot. Obviously, thievery would be at the forefront of it, but it would be an awesome way to have a guild that's for unethical, stealthy characters without it explicitly being we're the best assassins or we're the best lockpickers. So 2 choices within one guild is definitely a step up from where we're at. Even imagine if it was like Witcher, where your choices within the quests could change the outcome of the plot, even if it wasn't explicit as to how the cause and effect would play out. This would provide a lot of replayability, as you'd have a different feeling storyline in one playthrough compared to another, even for the same faction. Imagine in Skyrim if you could side with Mercer Frey in the Thieves Guild, or side with Astrid in the Dark Brotherhood. Or imagine in the College of Winterhold storyline if you could actually defect and help the College of Whispers or the Synod Mages uncover the power of the Eye of Magnus. That would be really dope. They're just some ideas, but you see what I'm saying here. Now for number 5, something really basic I want to see in Elder Scrolls 6 is an upgraded armor and apparel system, a layered one at that. You know how in Fallout 4 we could wear clothing and then put pieces of armor on top of that? That would work perfectly in the Elder Scrolls universe too. With an upgraded armor system, we could have slots for things like pauldrons as well, although obviously the more slots there are, the more we need to reduce the potency of enchanting to counter the possibility of it becoming even more overpowered than it already might be. Now, not only would we wear armor over robes and clothes and so on, but also the other way around. So things like capes, hoods, robes over the top of armor, and other little aesthetic things that make you look really badass as you roam around the location of wherever Elder Scrolls 6 is set. There are some really sensational pieces of robed armor in the Immersive Armors mod, which heavily inspired this idea for me. It just looks so cool. It would also mean Bethesda has to pay attention to any clipping issues and ensure any combinations they hadn't thought of still work. Not work aesthetically, because obviously you can make something that looks awful if you want to, but I don't want to see the cloth of my Hammerfell head wrap sticking out of the middle of my Elven Armor chest piece. An upgraded armor system not only gives more aesthetic options, which is better for customization and role-playing, but it also just provides more variety of standalone apparel in the game, because there would be new things like capes and shawls. Also, we'd want to make sure there are still benefits to characters who only wear clothing and aren't armored at all, perhaps better magic potency, or just perks like mage armor in Skyrim that make flesh spells more effective when you're not wearing armor. And that wraps up this video on 5 things we really want to see in Elder Scrolls 6. Thank you all so much for watching the video and for supporting the channel. If you want to follow us on social media, we've got links down in the description, and if you have any ideas to discuss, feel free to jot them down in the comments section just below this video. Thank you again, everyone. We're super grateful for all of your support. My name is Michael, and I look forward forward to nerding out with you again very soon.